Nothing is normal. I'll not be fine. Not anymore. Everything feels tawdry and cheap. No matter what kind of meaning or purpose I think my life used to have, well, that's all gone now. Reverberated away like a beautiful song sung into the wind. It can only travel so far before it dims into nothing. This is my life now. I'm on the cusp of accepting it. It's only a matter of time until I'm all used up. With my new purpose fulfilled, I'll move on. The cycle will continue. Whatever it's done with me, I'll be like one of them. Just one more of them. That's the only part I can't accept. No matter my denial, I know it's inevitable. I grew up wanting to be a singer, to create something temporary and beautiful with little more than a breath and a piece of my soul merged into it. It was my dream. I wanted to be able to move people with the sound of my words, to make them feel genuine emotion by vibrating my vocal cords in a manner that brought feeling, whether it was joy, elation, intrigue, even sadness. I grew up listening to the great opera performers and envying their talent, their dedication, to convey so much feeling. It's as if they're feeling that emotion themselves, completely and fully, so fully that it overflows out and infects those within earshot, causing them to feel as well. I don't envy them anymore. Since my run-in with the worms, I now have that gift. Except the things I infect with my audience are sinister. I can only express what the worms feel. You don't want to feel what the worms feel. They say that due to the way their nervous system is developed, or rather lack of developed, worms can't actually feel anything. They're annelids, possessing no brain, with a single nerve cord running through the length of their body. Scientists think that because of this, they can't feel pain. They can't think. Their primitive anatomy would have them believe that they're mindless little decomposers, their only purpose to consume and convert old dead things into nutrient-rich waste. Little organic fertilizer machines. I wonder how those same scientists would feel if they could see what I had, if they could hear me sing the worms song. They would feel how everybody else feels when they hear it. It cannot be put into words. For worms, they don't have any words, but the effect of it is undeniable. To dissect the feeling and pick it apart would be an exercise in futility, a lesson of hubris. The results would be irrelevant. Thinking back to that day, I wonder what my life would be if I had never stumbled into that hole. If my friends had never invited me hiking at the base of that gargantuan mountain, or had I made up excuses as to why I couldn't go, my life might be different, might be normal. Had I never decided to stray from the well-beaten path and fallen into that hole, I might have been able to fulfill my dream of becoming an opera singer eventually on my own, not with the creature's perpetual curse infecting my larynx, coiling its way around my trachea. Had I never went to investigate that gorgeous siren song that, in truth, was a swan song, I may have lived a life full of life experiences instead of cursed half-life I'm now burdened with. The worm's head worming its way up my epiglottis like a charmed cobra every time I sing. Had I not screamed when I was face to face with those half-rotten corpses, surrounded and wedged into the bottom of that chasm by the petrified remains, then perhaps one of them wouldn't have slithered its way down my throat so easily. All the cadavers' mouths hung open as the demon worms sang their beautiful and deadly chorus from what was left of their hosts, their heads poking through the open throats of rotten flesh. Had I not chickened out of ending my own life once my new parasite made its intentions known, maybe the worm's tendrils wouldn't be worming their way deeper and deeper into my brain right now. My dream of becoming famous is now my nightmare, because I know once I'm on that stage, hundreds of eyes and ears on me, the worm will sing her misbegotten song, Chaos will erupt. Maybe not at first, perhaps not for a long time, but once the notes go into their ears, then eventually they will belong to the worms. It takes time for a flower to bloom, just like it takes time for a corpse to decompose. But once it starts, there's really no stopping the process. The children of the worms gestate, being born from the mere sound alone. The seed is planted, the egg is laid. When they finally hatch, they will feed on the various blood and cerebrospinal fluids that they need until they mature, at which time they begin controlling their gracious host. Little things at first. They have to learn how to walk before they can run, after all. It may start with the twitching of a limb, the spasm of a muscle. Once they further develop, simple spasms and twitches become more refined. The kicking of a small animal, the slapping of a coworker. When they're closing in on the end of their life cycle, they have full control. The murder of a friend, the mutilation of a loved one. When they're nearing the end, having lived a full and productive life, they find somewhere secluded, usually somewhere isolated, but with a great chance of being heard. Their siblings, who were all born from the same song, or what's left of them, began to congregate, usually in clusters of about a dozen. With their help, they began digging a hole. It's deep, just wide enough to accommodate the cluster of their host bodies, with room for one unsuspecting victim in the middle. The shaft, oddly acoustic in its properties. They crawl in and they wait. They wait while their hosts slowly decompose. They wait to be taught how to sing. They wait for Mother to come and teach them. With their mother's dying song, they learn. Only one at a time will get to go on and continue with their own life cycle, to infect another host so it too can sing for the world. I know all of this because the worm wants me to know. It wants me to understand, in hopes that with understanding would come some sense of the grand purpose, to know that my death won't be in vain. I've been under the control of the worm for some time now, and have become an observer of my own life. The mother worm, the one that sings to create its children, doesn't start out in the brain like its kids do, and doesn't indulge in violence. It nests in the esophagus of its hosts, and with time, grows little tendrils that invade the sinus cavities, eventually making its way to the brain. Because of this, it takes longer to reach its final stage of life, and therefore longer to take full control of its host. There are still brief periods where I resume control, and I write this during one of those, snippets of clarity that grow shorter and shorter every time. Before the worm had any control, after I was rescued from that god-awful pit, I found that my singing voice had improved exponentially. I could hit vocal ranges that I never dreamed I'd be able to master, much less even accomplish successfully. My voice was sublime, utter perfection. I used my newfound skills to seize my dream of getting leading role after leading role, my fame and accolades growing with each performance. As my fame grew, so too did the influence of the worm, branching deeper and deeper. This evening's performance will be televised, and I plead with you, do not view it. The worm almost has complete control, and tonight's performance will be the inseminating one. Never has a worm gotten to sing its impregnating song to such a large audience, and I fear all of the chaos and murder it will cause down the line. I want to kill myself, to end it all, but the worm has enough control over me now, even in my brief waking spells, to stop me every single time. I need to hurry. I can feel it waking again. If, by some miracle, the worm doesn't find and delete this, please, for the love of everything I hold dear, don't listen to my voice. It's not really me. It's the Requiem of the Worm. You're still here. I thought you might be. Thanks for joining me for tonight's story. If your insatiable appetite for horror knows no bounds, might I suggest one of our playlists, or one of our previous stories in the archive? There should be one appearing at the end of the story any minute now. And of course, if you're not subscribed, why not go ahead and hit that subscribe button? Maybe hit that notification bell so you don't miss any of the spooky things that we do here. If you prefer your horror a little more analog, you can always pick up one of my books. There's a link below to my latest, and it'll take you to all the great things that I've posted on Amazon. For my book lovers in the audience, I always suggest coming on down to Patreon so you can become part of my ghostly reader tier and get a book anytime I write one, which is usually about twice a year. Speaking of my patrons, let's go ahead and thank them. Thanks to Janet for being our Spooky Skeleton tier contributor, and thanks to Hi Stacy, Winter, Xaronan, Emily Coltsfoot, Stephanie Carrington, Marianne Schuler, Tyler Parker, and Jennifer Damron for being our Ghostly Reader tier contributors. Thanks, everyone. We just couldn't do the show without you. If you're thinking you might like to become one of my patrons, follow the link below to my Patreon. And as always, however you support the show, I appreciate it. Till next time, Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.